morning, everyone, and welcome to your neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Suzanne. I'm sitting at the piano in our sanctuary at 310 Danforth, and I have your announcements for the coming weeks. My first announcement involves the Spirit Choir. Spirit Choir, we will be resuming Zoom rehearsals starting Monday, September 27th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. If you are interested in joining us, please contact me at music@nuuc.ca. There will also be a Spirit Choir Song Circle happening Monday, September 20th at 7 p.m. This will be our last outdoor song circle of the year at Withrow Park. All are welcome to join us. Announcing a fall neighborhood picnic. The staff and board is hosting a congregational picnic at Withrow Park on Saturday, September 18th from 12 to 3 p.m. All are welcome to come. Bring your own food and drink. Rain date for the picnic will be the following day, Sunday, September 19th at the same time. There will be a congregational meeting on Sunday, September 12th after service to talk about mediation, resolution, and outcomes. That's happening from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. If you want more info, you can contact our president, Allison Kabayama, at president@nuuc.ca. We are hosting an 8th principle discussion, an online discussion in preparation for the CUC's vote and our own vote on adopting the 8th principle, which reads, "We, the member congregations of the Canadian Unitarian Council, covenant to affirm and promote individual and communal action that accountably dismantles racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions." We'll be hosting that discussion on Tuesday, September 21st from 7 to 8:30 p.m. here at the Sunday Service link. You can contact our president for more information. And next Sunday, our minister, Reverend Wayne Walder, will be back from his sabbatical to speak on the theme of the fears and fantasies of finances. Music will be provided by myself, Suzanne, and friends.
Good morning, and welcome to our neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation on Zoom. My name is Kurt Thompson, and I will be your virtual service leader from home. As Suzanne said, our minister, the Reverend Wayne Walder, is still finishing up his sabbatical, and music director Susanne Maziarz is in our sanctuary at 310 Danforth. Our director of our child caregiving program, Zach Getchell, will be offering a time for all ages at home. And our web hosting duties are being done by Mike Kozowski, and cutting and pasting will be done by Zach Getchell. Just to help out, I'm sure some of you may already know this. Please keep yourselves muted unless called on for things like joys and concerns. And please refrain from sending chat messages to everyone in service the same way you would refrain from shouting out during service. This service is being recorded for our website and on YouTube. If you do have privacy concerns, please turn off your camera and rename yourself. The symbol of our faith. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. We do have a guest speaker today, a familiar face to neighborhood. That's Rodrigo Elino Celino Cano, who has been ordained at Neighborhood. And he will be talking about system error, basically the idea of systemic oppressions, but somewhat of a different perspective. And now we have a symbol of our faith, our chalice. If you do so wish, please light a chalice in your own home, or just form your hands in the shape of a chalice and join in as we light our chalice. Susanne will light our chalice, and we hear the choir sing our chalice welcoming song.
We light this chalice to remember, to light the fire within our own hearts.
And now we have our prelude. Susanne, would you like to introduce it, please?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Kurt. This morning's prelude is a song called Let Justice Roll Down. The composer is Aileen Vance, who's a living composer from California. And this performance is done by Leah Morris. Neighborhood, and especially the Spirit Choir, may be familiar with some of Leah's original compositions, as our last project was recording her song, Hearts Wide Open. Please enjoy Leah singing Let Justice Roll Down, and we'll be repeating this song at the end of the service for us all to sing together.
I was led to nonviolence because I felt that it was the best moral way to deal with the problem. We were seeking to establish a just society. And it was my feeling then, and it is my feeling now, that violence is certainly much more socially destructive, and it creates many more social problems than it solves. So I was led to nonviolence for deep moral reasons. And I turned to it because I felt that it was the morally excellent way to deal with the problem of racial injustice in our country.
No freedom, the wise man said, let justice roll down, when the poor cry out for shelter and bread. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary, walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Hatred will never drive out hate. Let love roll down, roll down. Remember, our hearts can make us great. Let love roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary, walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. And let your love roll down like a mighty stream. When brutality threatens our daughters and sons, let peace roll down, roll down. May our voices rise up louder than the guns. Let peace roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary, walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. And let peace roll down like a mighty stream. Step by step, one by one, let justice roll down, roll down. They can kill the prophet, but the dream lives on. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you dare we walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream.
I turned to it because I felt that it was the morally excellent way to deal with the problem of racial injustice in our country.
At this time, most of us are separated from each other in our homes during this time where we cannot always say hi face to face or even hug each other still. But let us remember that we are doing this and we are still in the lands that were once and still home to the Wendat, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Mississaugas, and the Métis and Inuit who also have come to this area of the land. People who have known as well the ideas of systems that are set upon them that don't always work, that might not fit everybody, which is what our guest speaker, Reverend Rob, will be talking about today in his ideas of system error. For those of you that may not know, or new members here, I'm a person who's sight impaired, and I've been losing my a little more regularly over the last year or so. And I'm finding more and more things around that are not really designed for people like me, or maybe in an afterthought. Oh, it's like for other people with disabilities as well, you know, sometimes a building isn't designed for something like that, for wheelchairs, and they put a ramp in as an afterthought, and they have to kind of squeeze it in. And it's not exactly in the most comfortable position for it to be, which is why many people are designing buildings and designing spaces now which are fully accessible to everyone. Our reading today comes from Rachel Ricketts. And she says that, for me, spiritual action is ongoing, active, anti-oppressive thoughts, speech, action, and inaction, often informed by spiritual power, whether that be secular or non-secular. It begins with the individual, knowing that the understanding that it has to come from an understanding of informed and an understanding of appreciated spirituality that can be practiced by from each individual person. Here at Neighborhood, we have a mission to empower spiritual growth and shared action for the care of our world. Now, please join me in our opening words, which you will see on your screens. And if you're on a phone and do not know the words, just listen along. Let us cast a circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast a circle of a cherished space here, a space of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in our space and in ourselves the seeds that grow a different kind of life, a life of graciousness, of creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves and our families. Usually at this time, we would be turning to each other and greeting our neighbors. So please briefly unmute yourselves and just say hello to your neighbors. And in about a minute, we'll bring chimes in.
Hi, Moira.
Morning,
Morning, everybody.
Everybody.
Hi, Moira. Hi, David.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Brenda.
Hey, Helen.
Phyllis and Fred.
Monica.
Fred.
Somebody
Sarah, where are you going?
Hi, Susan.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello, Dolly. Hey, Deb and Dina.
Wow.
Hey, Dave. Hey, Moira. Hey, Deb, Dina. Hey,
Seven
Phil.
people. Hi,
Hey
hello.
there, Patty.
Hi, Bruce.
Patty,
Yeah.
Hi, Moira and David.
Hi, Juliana. Hi, Devin.
Hi. Bye.
Now, as we hold this place open to grace and insight, let's join Susanne for our opening song. Susanne?
Yes, we're opening the service today with hymn number 10, Immortal Love, which is a new hymn at Neighborhood. I'd often passed it by just on the basis of the opening line and its kind of simple tune. So I want to thank Rev Rod for suggesting it because it made me look at it a little deeper. And as I read through the lyrics, what I hear is a call to action to lead a life of love. And what does that exactly look like? With lines like, blow, winds of love, awake and blow the mists of hate away. And the letter fails, the systems fall, and every symbol wanes. The spirit overseeing all, love remains. Made me really appreciate the song more. So thanks, Rod. Hope you'll join me in singing hymn number 10, Immortal Love. Immortal love, forever full, forever flowing free, forever shared, forever whole, a never-ending sea. Our outward lips confess the name, all other names above. But love alone knows whence it came and comprehendeth love. Blow winds of love, awake and blow the mist of hate away. Sing out, O truth divine, and tell how wide and far we stray. The letter fails, the systems fall, and every symbol wanes. The spirit overseeing all, eternal love remains.
Now, Those who are young at heart and young in body, please come closer to the screen, and Zach will share something with you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to our space after our summer road trip throughout many of the Southern Ontario congregations. And a special welcome today to Rev Rod. Our topic today is system error, and Rev Rod will be talking to you shortly about some systems that we have and how they're sometimes designed to fail and what can happen when they do fail. I'm going to come at this from the other side and wonder what we can do when those systems fail. Because a system that's designed to fail certainly will. And when it does, that can be incredibly frustrating for the people experiencing it. It can inspire us to want to change the system, to make it better. But making things better is very hard to do when you're still in a place of frustration. And it's reasonable to think that we're all in that place of frustration now. After all, since COVID, many systems have failed us. That's why I'm going to use our time today to give us a bit of a calming system reset for ourselves. For starters, I'm going to ask everyone to turn off your cameras. This is a system reset for you, and you should be able to do it without any lingering worry about what anyone watching might think. This is just for you. Now that everyone's camera is off, I'm going to ask everyone to move around in a way that makes your body and your brain feel good. Maybe this means stretching your muscles. Maybe it's making a bunch of silly sounds. Maybe it's flapping your arms like wings and dancing around the room. I don't really know. As long as you're not hurting anyone and it makes you feel good, it's the right thing to do. For myself, and you can feel free to follow along with the movements I'm describing, I'm going to be getting up from my chair, planting my feet firmly on the ground, and making my back, my spine, as straight as I possibly can. I'm going to picture a long line going from the top of my spine out through the bottom of my spine and anchoring me to the ground. And then I'm going to stretch my back up that line as far as I can. And then I'm going to bring it back down. And you might be doing that as well. You might be coming up with me now for the second stretch on that line. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're taking the time to walk to the kitchen and quickly grab another cup of coffee. If that works for you, that's what you need to do. Maybe you're coming up with me for the third time, and this time, when we get as high as we can, I'm gonna come forward, keeping my back as straight as possible, bending at the waist, and trying to get to a sort of 90-degree position. And then I'm gonna come back up. And I'm going to put my head down and roll my neck slowly from side to side, feeling the stretch, taking some slow, deep breaths while I do it. And maybe you're not taking slow, deep breaths. Maybe you're hopping up and down like a bunny rabbit. Maybe you're twirling around like a ballerina. I'm not sure, but if it feels good, and it's helping you to reset, then it's the right thing. And now that we've had a bit of a chance to do that, I'm going to ask you all to come back from your time of reset. You can turn your videos back on and come on back to your screens. Hopefully, our minds and bodies are refreshed, reset, and ready to hear the first part of Rev Rod's message. Rev Rod, would you like to take over?
Hello, everyone. So I'll be sharing a couple stories here about systems that I've seen fail, and they're not the kind of systems that you might be thinking of. But the first story that I want to share is from across the border, specifically in the city of Durham, North Carolina, where there is a railroad overpass. And this overpass is just a little bit too short. It was first built to have a clearance height of 11 feet and 8 inches, which was the standard clearance in 1940. but it's not quite what many transport trucks need these days. Because it is high enough for most vehicles, and it looks like it might just be high enough for the taller ones, this overpass routinely scrapes off the roofs of the taller trailer trucks that venture under it, along with the occasional air conditioning unit from traveling RVs. And it has gained a reputation. It is sometimes called the 11-foot-8 bridge, but it's more affectionately called the can opener. And sometimes more ominously, the Gregson Street guillotine. The can opener nickname is no exaggeration. Often enough, the entire roof from a truck container will be scraped cleanly off, resembling a newly opened can of sardines. And the issues that go with this overpass are no secret. The bridge's height is conspicuously advertised with bright, redundant signage. And it has recently gotten a state-of-the-art system with a sophisticated height sensor that activates a flashing message on a light-up board warning potential victims that they are over height, must turn. And still, this system continues to fail so reliably that a nearby office worker, Jürgen Henn, has installed 2 cameras that passively record the intersection, with what has become a cottage industry for him, documenting the inevitable collisions, as surely enough, every couple of months or so, there will be a new truck that either didn't see the signs or didn't think it applied to them or decided to be adventurous, or for whatever reason, went under the overpass all the same, and consequently lost a piece of the vehicle, usually part of the roof. The videos are easily seen on Jürgen Henn's YouTube channel and the aptly named 11foot8.com website. Although the name 11foot8 has recently been amended to 11-foot-8 plus 8, as the bridge was partially raised 8 inches in 2019. But standing now at 12-foot-4, it still falls short of the modern standard clearance of 14 feet. And trucks still occasionally feed the viral video market with unsuspecting overheight traffic. As of today, there are 171 crashes recorded by the website, with the latest one posted about exactly a month ago. I'm going to show that last video, the crash 171 from a month ago. But just before I do that, a note on watching these videos, whether it's this morning or you decide to look at them later on. There is an implied element of comedy in the fact that these are posted. And it may be a natural reaction for some of us to laugh when witnessing this kind of unexpected situation, even when it comes at someone else's expense. And while very few injuries and no deaths have been reported in these crashes, it is my hope that we may view these as illustrations of systemic failure, remaining mindful that at the other end of the screen, we are seeing someone who is having a bad day. So I'm going to show the video and I'll come back for an epilogue right after. So that was crash 171 at the 11'8" bridge. And if for whatever reason you had trouble seeing the video, I'll quickly recap it. It shows a red light at the bridge's intersection and a big flashing sign reading "Oversized, must turn." When the light turns green again, a trailer truck drives through, and as its roof grazes the yellow crash beam, the metal sheeting of the roof gets peeled off and falls inside the container. And then the truck stops and backs up as the street on the other side of the truck is easily visible. Now, improving the bridge's safety record was one consideration in raising its clearance, but it could only be raised so much because its new height would affect the slopes of other intersections nearby. Amid these conflicting considerations, the imperfect solution of a slightly better but still dangerous overpass remains, with a stopgap system that can reduce some of the harm that it causes, while the main structure, quite literally the main structure that causes the system to fail, remains in place. And that is one story of a system error. I have another one in just a while as we take a moment to be open to other parts of our lives.
This is a special time in our service when we invite you to share a joy or concern in your life. All right, then. If there's no one else, I'd like to light this final candle for all the joys and concerns that remain unspoken in our hearts. Now I ask Reverend Rod to lead us in meditation or prayer. Reverend Rod?
Let us take this moment to recognize that we are here in a world that has many stories. Some of these stories seem very big, and others may appear smaller. Some of these stories have been mentioned or hinted at this morning, and some have not been named at all, though they may still be in our minds. The bigger stories are important, and sometimes they can overshadow other parts of our shared life that are also important. Those stories that seem smaller in the larger world may not feel so small to us individually, and those matter as well. And then there is the story that we are sharing at this moment. The story of us in this larger space, sharing this moment, and sharing this moment with a bit of stillness.
Sister up, she is not heavy. I'm gonna lift my sister up, she is not heavy. I'm gonna lift my sister up, She is not heavy. If I don't lift her up, I will fall down. I'm gonna lift my brother up. He is not heavy. I'm gonna lift my brother up. He is not heavy. I'm gonna lift my brother up. He is not heavy. If I don't lift him up, I will fall down. I'm gonna lift my people up. They are not heavy. I'm gonna lift my people up. They are not heavy. I'm gonna lift my people up. They are not heavy. If I don't lift them up, if I don't lift them up, if I don't lift them up, I will fall down. If I don't lift them up, if I don't lift them up, if I don't lift them up, I will fall down.
So I have another story to share with you. And I'll start by describing a couple of the roles that I've been in and where I've seen many of you being in. And that's shared ministry. The role of ministry is often described as a work of service. And in a community of faith, that can mean many things, including leading Sunday services. This is a ministry that is often also shared with lay leaders. And there are other ministries that we share. Now, just as many of you might do at different times in your lives, I have also held a job in what is formally called the service industry, literally serving food and drink. And sometimes members of our communities of faith fulfill that role at our congregational gatherings at times when this makes sense. Whenever some of you serve food or beverages for the community, along with taking care of other logistical aspects that this entails, like setting up a space, cleaning up, taking down. In other words, we serve each other in our congregations in many kinds of ways. Some sound like more literal kinds of service than others, but they are all offers of service. Now, like some among you, I have done this kind of service industry work semi-professionally. For a couple of years, I held a part-time job with an event staffing agency. We were freelance butlers of sorts. And that's what we called each other in our agency's culture, the butlers. Our jobs included table and bar service for different kinds of events, from small house parties to large gala dinners. And yes, in addition to my license to solemnize marriages, I also have a SmartServe certificate. In other words, a bartending license. And one of the gigs that I once worked at was a private fundraising dinner. It was a schmancy affair at a swanky home in a high-end Toronto neighborhood. The menu had been meticulously chosen. The desserts looked like works of art. And the decor was fancifully laid out with purpose-made mood lighting, flower arrangements, a color theme, and trendy candle holders that were whimsically suspended inside cute bird cages that were hung around the main guest table. The meal service was pretty standard. Hors d'oeuvres, cocktails, sit down, salad, main course, massive dessert. We've done plenty of times this kind of menu. My fellow butlers and I lined up to serve the salad. A small platoon of us filed out and each served our guest diners 2 plates at a time. And just as I was rounding the halfway point around the table, I suddenly found myself seeing stars and then felt a warm drip around my ear and side of the face. It turns out I have crashed into a birdcage. The kind of birdcage that held an hour's worth of melted paraffin wax, which was now dripping down my side onto my agency-approved black shirt, black tie, black vest, and black pants uniform, as well as my shoes. Also, it was on my hair. The wax was on my hair. In a moment of crisis management brilliance, I arranged for a co-working butler to serve the rest of my allotted salad while I sheepishly walked over to my supervisor with wax slowly hardening on my clothes to explain the situation and fill out the OSHA-mandated incident report. My supervisor was graceful enough. She didn't make a big deal out of it, but did helpfully suggest that I relieve my colleague on dish duty so that they may take my place on table duty, as my uniform was no longer up to industry standard. While no blame was named, I did feel rather foolish at my misstep. And many questions came to mind as I started piling dirty dishes into plastic bins. How did I not see the birdcage? Could I have avoided the birdcage? Why am I the only one to have crashed into the birdcage? My relationship with the birdcage featured deeply into my sense of ineptness at my job of putting down plates of salad. I felt foolish and had existential questions about my ability to perform in the service industry. What we might call negative self-talk, as I was holding myself responsible for this unforeseen incident. At some point into the main course, one of my senior colleagues joined me on dish duty. Turns out that the seemingly static birdcage had a way of sneaking up on people. With a slightly banged up head and an even more banged up ego, my colleague's company offered me an odd comfort. I may have been a fool, but I wasn't the only one. A few minutes into the schmancy dessert, my supervisor walked into the kitchen table and declared, "The photographer just got waxed." I saw a very professional looking fellow with silver hair and an expensive camera walking in. Paraffin featured heavily on his corduroy jacket. And he was casually talking about how he would word the invoice for dry cleaning. By that point, I no longer felt foolish. It was clear to me that it wasn't simply a matter of me absently bumping into a birdcage, or about my colleague being equally clumsy. There was something else going on. In other words, the problem was systemic. Something about the layout in the venue's decor lent itself to workers reliably being whacked on the head and waxed over their bodies and clothes. Now, I believe that the interior decorator for this particular event never had it in their program plan to harm workers or spill hot paraffin over them. I am convinced that that particular outcome was never part of their intent. In fact, the event staff might have quite possibly never entered into their consideration at all. And yet, their layout had a measurable impact on the people responsible for making the event happen. Some of them were newbies like me, but it also included more seasoned service staff, as well as full-out professionals with years of experience. It wasn't a matter of an individual's personal ability or shortcomings. It was the structure in place that was inherently problematic and prone to cause harm to an entire category of people involved in the event. In this case, the service workers. My friends, in our communities, our living covenant calls on us to grow into awareness toward nurturing right relations with each other. In the process of considering how our covenants apply to us, it serves us to take into account the kinds of questions we can ask of ourselves and others when deciding who we are, where we are, and how we want things to be. Examining who we think about or don't think about. Examining how we think about others. And moreover, how can we allow the wider community and the systems in it to foster safer spaces? Spaces where we can be mindful of our intentions and their impacts. And spaces where we can improve accountability among each other, not just as individuals, but as a community. My friends, increasing our awareness and improving our actions at an individual level has value. Our individual actions can have an impact in reducing harm to those who are not always taken into consideration by the systems that may be in place. And in addition to this personal accountability, we can also contribute to a larger mission of shifting the structures of those systems that predictably and reliably fail those who weren't considered by those systems. My friends, may our growing awareness lead the way to a safer, more inclusive, beloved community. In solidarity, so may it be. Amen.
Thank you, Rod, for a very different look at what systemic oppression can be. Before we get to our offering, I thought I would continue on something that Zach was mentioning earlier. We've been through a summer road trip to other UU congregations. And I think it's a good idea to think about what we have here at Neighborhood and what works here, and how we appreciate what we have here. And maybe if we take some time to think as well as to what some of these other congregations have done that we might want to implement in our own services. This is not something we can just come up with right away, just something that we can think about and dwell on, and maybe over the next weeks and months, we can maybe implement some of these ideas. At Neighborhood, we are a growing, hopefully growing, and hopefully wanting to see the end of this pandemic so we can see each other again in a new space and to help that space flourish. But in order to do that, we need help from each other to offer funds, to offer help in other ways. If you offer a pledge or donations to Neighborhood, we thank you. If you haven't, maybe consider writing a check or doing an e-transfer. In the chat, you'll see a link to our donations page. While some music is being played, consider possibly making a donation. Thank you. If you have donated, we thank you. If you serve Neighborhood or volunteered in any way, we thank you. All forms of help build our community. We thank you for all types of offerings. And now for a closing song. Suzanne?
Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. There is no freedom, the wise man said. Let justice roll down when the poor cry out for shelter and bread. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Hatred will never drive out hate. Let love roll down, roll down. Remember, our hearts can make us great. Let love roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, believe When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let love roll down like a mighty stream. Let love roll down like a mighty stream. When brutality threatens our daughters and sons, let peace roll down, roll down. May our voices ring out above the guns. Let peace roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let peace roll down like a mighty stream. Let peace roll down like a mighty stream. When fists rise up to strike a blow, let songs roll down, roll down. May the poets remind us of what we know. Let songs roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let songs roll down like a mighty stream. Let songs roll down like a mighty stream. Step by step and one by one, let justice roll down, roll down. They can kill the prophet, but the dream lives on. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. 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 May it be so.
May it be so, Susanne. Blessed be. Now, we come to the time when we extinguish our chalice that has held us in this sacred space for this time. So please extinguish your chalices at home while Susanne extinguishes it in the sanctuary, and the choir will sing.
Although our chalice has been darkened, we hold the fire within our own hearts.
In closing, I'd like to leave this blessing. I bless you the strength to find a new path if the old one does not work. And hopefully the path makers may follow or build a new path to something better. Usually at the end of our services, when we're together, we would form a circle and hold hands. But as we are in this virtual space, let us unmute and give a venerable Eastern bleeding that supports the spirit within us, and say our namaste. Namaste.
Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.
Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.
Namaste. What did they used to, they said in Avatar? I see you.
I see you.